Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got the Georg Jensen bent Dublin here for us. Of course, if we're going to be smoking the bent Dublin pipe, it seems appropriate to have Peterson's of Dublin early morning pipe as the tobacco. So that's what's the pipe, that's what's in the pipe, and we've got a wonderful topic coming to you today from something that a fan emailed me. So as always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. I say it so often that I love the interactions with people from this channel. Not only the comments on YouTube, obviously, but emails as well. So let me bring this up. A fellow named Martin emailed me, and he says, Steve, I was thinking about ideas that I think would be good talking points for your channel. One thing that crossed my mind was decision making. How do you go about it? What would be advice you would give to people about making a big decision, or any decision? How do you come to the point where you know what's the right decision to make? How do you come to live with the decisions you make? What advice would you give to people who struggle with indecisiveness? I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with nowadays. There's so much pressure put on people, especially young people, to make these decisions that are very important. I know you have a lot of great experience with teaching, parenting, and in many other endeavors of life. I think you, of all people, would have some great things and ideas to say that would really stick with people and would just be interesting. Just something to think about. Well, first of all, Martin, thank you so much for that really wonderful suggestion. And I doubt that I'm going to be able to do any justice to that wonderful topic in just this one episode. So maybe this will be something that requires more than one episode. But you mentioned the pressures on people to make decisions, and especially young people. And I do think I want to try to touch on that aspect a little bit, since as a teacher, I care very much about young people and how they go about engaging with life. So there's all kinds of decisions we make, right? Some require no thought whatsoever. You say, Steve, do you want to listen to Stryper or Taylor Swift? I don't have to think twice about that. It's Stryper. You say, hey, you want to listen to Deep Purple or Beyonce? Deep Purple every time. So I don't have to think about those decisions. But obviously there are other decisions that have more substance to them, right? More weight to them. Do I buy this house? Do I take this job? Do I move? Do I marry this person? Those are the big ones, right? And then somewhere in between, do I ask this person to marry me? And do I listen to Stryper or Taylor Swift? Are the decisions like, for example, what pipe I brought out for this particular video, and what I'm wearing in the video, okay? I made those decisions. I keep a list on my phone of the topics on this channel, along with what pipe I smoke in the video and what I'm wearing. Get the little thumbnail sketch that comes up right on YouTube, and I don't want to have, say me in the same blue shirt 3 videos in a row. That could get confusing. Some people are going to go, well, hey, it's the same video or it's part of a series, and that's not the case. So I do give a little bit of thought to that. I also like to rotate the pipes around. So got a nice little collection and like to showcase those. So want to try to rotate those, not have the same pipes back to back or too close to each other. And then sometimes the pipe actually has something to do with the topic. You may say, well, Steve, I didn't know you put in that kind of thought. Well, there's the first thing. I think when it comes to decision making of anything you consider important, it requires some intentionality, right? It requires some thought. And then it becomes, well, what do I think about, right? What aspects are important in making this decision? Again, staying with something more on the trivial side of things. For me, it's usually not that important that I'm changing tobaccos. Okay? I like my Prince Albert, smoke it most of the time. Occasionally, though, the tobacco has something to do with the episode, or in this case, the pipe. But for me, what's important in making the decision about what to wear and what to smoke has to do with the variety and the content of the video. So those are the two guiding factors that I'm thinking about when I'm getting ready to make one of these videos. Now, like I say, that's on the more trivial end of things. When you think about, do I take this job? Do I move to another city? Do I quit this job? Do I ask this person to marry me? Do I go out with this person? Do I break up with this person? Do I purchase this house? Is it the right time to trade my car in and purchase a new car? Which university should I go to? Again, going back to the idea of young people. Well, there's a lot more factors that weigh in than just, 2 or even 3. So one of the things for me, and again, I would say this comes from a little bit of an analytical mind, being a grammar guy, and that's one of the things people have said for many, many years about the study of languages, and especially the study of grammar. And the same thing can be said of the study of mathematics, is that it really does kind of train you to think in categories and organize your thoughts and so forth. So I will very often sit down with a piece of paper. I'm a big pros and cons list kind of guy. All right, so if it's something major, I list out the pros, I list out the cons. Then I start to look at those and say, okay, does some of those actually weigh more? All right. So, for example, I might have to drive an extra 5 or 10 minutes to the job, but if it pays an extra $20,000 a year, that might be worth it, right? So you look at the pros and the cons, but then you also have to weigh those things out. And so I think just even in putting together a pros and cons list, and again with any of those major kinds of decisions, it involves knowing what those factors are, right? Now, if you've been around the block a little bit, all right, and I don't just mean romantically, but if you've been around the block in terms of your age, you know what factors go into some of those larger decisions. House, I've got to think about its location. How new or old is it? Are there repairs to be made? How big is the lot? Do I really want to tend that much property? Do I have the time and the money to care for a house of a particular size? Do I need more space because of a growing family, or I'm bringing in elderly relatives to live, and those sorts of things? And if you've lived for a while, you know some of those kinds of questions to ask. I think, though, if you're a younger person, you really need to have some older mentors around you. And those can be anybody from older brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, coach, teacher, guidance counselor. You need those people because they can help. They can help you to even see what are those elements to consider. All right, so you're thinking about your junior, senior in high school, and you're thinking about going to college. Well, maybe the only thing you're thinking about is how far away from home is it, and are any of my friends going there? Two very important things to consider. There's also the reputation of the university for what you want to study. If you don't know what you want to study, is it a big enough university that there are multiple departments that you could choose from, and maybe discover something you'd never even heard of before that you might then really want to dig into and major in. There's the issue of financial aid in terms of scholarship, in terms of loans and that sort of thing. I'd always tell students, you're going to be living in this college town for 4 years. What's the feel of the town? It's not just the campus, but you're going to be living there. Does it have a good feel to us? You need to go visit that place. But I think, again, that's where an older mentor, someone who's been down the pike a little bit, can help a younger person say, well, these are the things to consider. I'm not going to tell you what the answers are. You've got to consider those for yourself. But these are the sorts of things that you should look at. Now, I mention that with younger people, but the fact of the matter is, even those of us who have been down the pike a little bit, we need some guidance too. Okay? I certainly remember being on the phone with my dad when my wife and I were getting ready to buy our house. And even now, at my age, I'm asking advice. I ask advice on here. Not too long back, I was talking about my Zippo lighter here that I like so much, and I asked the question, do you think I should buy another lighter? I like this one very, very much. Part of me really wants a bronze or a brass Zippo that's on Amazon. Kind of like it. Don't really need it. What are your thoughts about that? I've asked questions about pipes. I've asked questions about tobaccos. So talking to more knowledgeable people who've been down the path a little bit. Yeah, sure, you can get all information on the internet, and we do. But specifically, if I'm interacting on the internet, I'd like to interact with somebody through a message or an email, some direct connection. And so I get input, I get valuable input that way. Then there's really kind of two other aspects of decision making I want to throw out there. One, who are the significant people in your life? Are you married? You want to talk with your spouse about a significant decision. I don't need to talk to my wife and say, hey, I want to go down to the store and grab a Diet Coke. I don't need to talk to her about that. If we're going to buy a car, we're going to talk to each other about that, right? So who are the people in your life that have a reasonable say in the decisions that you make? Now, this doesn't mean that they control you, but if you're a younger version, and you're still living at home, I don't think you can just up and decide to buy a dog without asking your parents first. Right? They've got a reasonable say. You're going to bring an animal into this house? Let's talk about the care. Let's talk about the upkeep. Let's talk about where this animal is going to live, inside, outside, and all of that. And if you're in a significant romantic relationship or a marriage, that other person has a reasonable say. So I think you got to talk it over with the people that you have invited into your life or that are a part of your life in a significant way to get their feedback. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to accept their idea, but again, if they're very, very close to you and you don't, then you need to talk that through as well. What are the compromises? Which way do you go? For example, several years ago, I knew it was time for me to retire from public education. Still need an income. And not only that, but I still wanted to teach. There was an opening at a private school near where we live. Talked to my wife about it. It would mean a little cut in pay. Can we work that out? Can we do that? Man, we wrestled that thing through. And that really leads me then to my last point, which, I'll be honest, may apply to you, may not apply to you. But if you have a relationship with God, my friends, What are you waiting for? Talk to him about it. And this is where we all talk about the difference. The difference between just religion, I go to church every Sunday, and do you actually have a relationship with God? Man, I remember wrestling with this decision about leaving the last school I've been at for more than 20 years. What's God calling me to here? And you want to talk about somebody that has a vested say in my life, I believe that God does. Now, it's not like I'm trying to please some thug in the sky. No, it's not that. But I want to please him. And I also do believe that he has my best interest at heart, as he has the best interest of the entire human race at heart. So if he's got some guidance, then I'm going to want to hear that. Or I'm going to want to know what that is. And so a lot of prayer goes into those kinds of decisions. You say, well, how do you hear from God? Well, lots of ways. You'd be reading this passage of Scripture and something that just really lights up and God just brings it to your heart, brings it to your mind. This is relevant. He may speak directly to your heart and mind. I distinctly remember mowing the grass and having a distinct conversation with God where he made something very, very clear to me. And then when you've done all that kind of stuff, and I don't know, Martin, I hope this has been somewhat helpful or to the point of your question. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. And of course, I'm going to ask that at the end of the video. But you just got to go with it. I mentioned before I like roller coasters. And one thing, when you get strapped into the roller coaster and that bar locks down or those harnesses come around you and click in, there's no going back now. There's no going back now. And you feel a little bit of nervous. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't get out of this. Boom, you're rocketing out of the station on that roller coaster. And you know what? That's it. Now you got to live with the decision. But this is where I bring God back into the equation. If you've prayed about it, if you have you've brought the best wisdom, discernment, you've researched, you've talked to other people, you've talked to knowledgeable people, you've made your pros and cons list, you've looked at the factors that are very important and the factors that are less important, make your decision. And sometimes you may hear from God directly and sometimes you may not. And even if you don't, you say, okay, based on what I have here right now, I'm making the best good faith decision. I am going to order pizza tonight for dinner and not tacos or whatever your decision may be. And then live with it. And if it comes out well, great, give thanks. If it doesn't, Lord, where do you want me to go next? Okay, so those are just some thoughts, again, literally off the cuff here. So do appreciate Martin for asking that. Talk to me, please, seriously. What are your decision-making processes that you go through? Specifically, what advice would you give to younger people? Was any of this helpful? I don't know. Do you do any of these things that I suggested? Right now, I'm making the decision to end this video and finish smoking this pipe while doing a little bit of reading. As Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.